I love little baby ducks, warm pickup trucks, tomatoes on the vine, and life. I love winners when they cry, losers when they cry, and lessons of life, and onions. And I love you too. I love little baby ducks, warm pickup trucks, tomatoes on the vine. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, we're starting the party now. I'm having my soda a day. My soda a day. Did I get a green screen? No, but I did hang up 3 paintings. And I'll let you decipher what the meaning is. Also, my cat is going nuts. Don't know why, but we can deal with that as it comes. She shouldn't be able to take us over too quickly. I think we have a few minutes of streaming before she takes over. Also, welcome. I hope everybody is doing great. Landscape mode. Yeah, that's right. We are not doing what the algorithm what the algorithm wants. We are doing what I want. What is she doing? The cat is making noises in the other room. They're not cat noises. They're noises of things breaking. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I'm scared. I'm a little scared. I'm a lot of scared. Good evening, brother. Justin Starbuck. Assemble! Yeah, form. I hear her digging in her litter box. It's weird. I just heard stuff break, and now I hear her digging in her litter box. I mean, what's the worst or what's a worse order? You hear the cat digging and then gonna go to the bathroom, and then stuff breaks, or stuff breaks first and then the cat goes to the bathroom. See, I think she's so satisfied that she broke something that I care about that she has now relieved herself. That's my guess. But we will move on past this point. How are we doing? How are we doing? We doing okay tonight? Can you guys hear me okay? Linda Cicoli, is the double C a ch, like, or is it like Spicoli? Anyways, Tristan says, I need to share this with you because my wife is not excited about it, but I know you will be. I got offered $5,000 water box aquarium for free. Holy smokes, 230 gallons. That is awesome, dude. Right on. Tristan, that is rad. I mean, that just paid for the rest of your whatever my most expensive membership is. No, I'm just kidding. Like, enjoy that. Go, I mean, with a big tank like that, I am always like torn. Do you go and buy like a million little fish that you love and then you can actually see their natural behavior? We talked about this last live stream a lot when we were watching my fish tank. And how like 50 reed tetras, you start to see this hierarchy and colors and fin shapes that don't come out when you have 15 or 20. You need like a big group. And Corridoras, I know, are that way. A lot of different tetras and rasboras, let alone like cichlids. Like, forget about it. The Lake Tanganyikan cichlids and the big like Central American cichlids, they need like 300 gallons or whatever to really start showing different like dominant, semi-dominant, subordinate, and uninterested, different levels of ranking and stuff. Really, really cool. Yeah, or you could just throw a whole bunch of guppies in there. But it's always a hard choice. Even with the 65 that I've still yet to put up, it's been so hard for me to decide what I want to put in it. I think I've decided that I want to do small, like dwarf cichlids that dig in sand. I've never really kept a super like benthic, meaning bottom, like a benthic feeding and oriented fish that ruins plants. Like I've never really successfully kept that. I've kept a few large cichlids because Lawrence Kent was like, oh, you got to have these, and he brought them back from Africa, and I felt like obligated, and it was cool, but like I kind of put them in the tank that was just like all rocks and kind of like my quarantine tank almost. And so I never really got the full like biotope style vibe. And now I want so badly. I mean, I really just need two spots for like a tank that's 75 plus gallons. That would be the dream. And someday when we get a bigger house, if that ever happens, no, we'll figure that out. And I'll like most definitely want to do like my end all be all dream would be to have like 30 species in an Orinoco / Amazonian, like right where Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, and Brazil, like kind of if you were to draw a circle over that whole conflagration of river systems, like a biotope of that big lake where they've dammed the river there. I can't remember the name of the lake actually, but it's a reserve or reservoir. And there are like 900 species of fish in that national park on the Brazilian northern border. So it would be so cool though to have like autumn angels, different plecos in there, and then like wood cats, and like, to do that. Now with the 230, you could have a group of or you could have a group of angels and plecos, but still, you don't have like the actual room required for like a biotope full stretch. It's insane how big those fish really are and what space you really need, and what you see like down at the Amazon orbs in Seattle. They have giant tanks. I think one is 1,800 gallons and the other's 6,400 gallons or something. And then there's another one too. And then there's the Day One Center, which also has two 1,500 gallon tanks side by side that are shallow. And it is in an area that's not public ever. It's all private, but I've seen photos of it because my buddy helped set it up with Tom Barr's Wood, my old, I guess I'd call him my sensei, or like the first person to teach me aquascaping with like structure and rules. Steve Waldron out of Aquarium Zen. So he had pictures though, and it was like he was able to just stock it with the rarest stuff that he could get from Steve Lumbald from the Wet Spot, the owner from the Wet Spot. He was able to like just ask him like, hit up your suppliers and we will pay anything. Amazon had no concept of what these fish should cost, so they gave him, like, he got a couple dwarf cichlids that were like 3 inches, and I think they each were like $700 or something ridiculous, and he got like 12 of them. They came in one day when I was working at Aquarium Zen, and this is 10 years ago, and I think this is kind of I mean, it kind of makes me laugh if we're looking for like inefficiency or what's the word, like not inefficiency, but rather where money just can disappear on big projects, whether that's for companies or government or whatever. That is like where an artist or a scientist's like dream is, in that no one would ever fund a study for X, Y, or Z that's really niche, or fund an art project for this or that. But all of a sudden, there's some gabillionaire, in this case Amazon, and they just want a cool thing, and they've allocated for art, they allocated $250,000. So to them, the fact that a fish tank is going to be $100,000 is like, oh, we're saving money, and it gets to, like, we can look at it, it's changing, like, what a great idea. And I think we should encourage that. Like, more corporate people need to get in the mindset that like aquariums are art, but they're also like inspiration for preservation, conservation, and education. And yeah. So anyways, but long story short, they came into our store and they said, so what are we talking here? And they were talking about tanks, and Steve was like, well, we don't have any tanks that size. You guys probably would do better off looking for a contractor and, you know, custom building an acrylic or glass tank, or you could inlay into the floor if you want ponds, because they also had part of the tank they wanted to be a pond and then have plexiglass you could walk over, and then you would see the tank from the floor below, but above it would just be a pond with like seating around the edge. Which, by the way, even at Amazon's corporate headquarters, idiots still throw gum wrappers and candy and pennies and crap into the tank when you have a open pond tank. And this is like the most senior elite people there. You would think it might be a little better than that, but no, apparently cleaning it out. I talked to 3 different people who had cleaned it out when I worked at that shop, and they're like, yeah, there were pennies in there again. They're like, well, do people like let their kids in there or something? And they're like, nope, it's like a corporate meeting space. Yeah. But anyway, so they came into the shop and they're like, okay, well, how much is it going to cost us to plant this? And they're like, we were like, we can't even get you enough plants for, I think what we were talking about was the 20-foot long by like 4-foot wide, like trough of an aquarium. And we were like, we can't get you enough plants to fully plant that as if it were a river. And plus, you really want like a lot of the same. You don't want to do a Dutch garden. That's going to be a lot of upkeep. And so basically this whole like layout, when these 2 gals came in and they were there to set up the like price and bargain about what they get for their money and just loosely like hash this out. And they're like, so what are we talking here? So you think we could do like the fish and the plants? Like, we know you can't get them, but like if you could, like how much would we have to pay you if you called it everyone you know and, you know, access everything you know and try to get this done in the next, say, 4 months? And so we're talking, and, you know, we're kind of like blown away by like, this has not really ever been something that's been offered. So we talk about it and we're like, okay, probably going to be about, I don't know, $3,400 for the plants and for the common fish, like the tetras and stuff like that. So we say 34 when we're talking back and forth, and they say, wait, let me stop you right there. Did you say 34? Now, we're okay with 25, but 34 is going to be a bit much for what we had in mind if we're just talking plants and common fish, not the show fish. Let's get back to you. So they go outside and they talk and they call someone on the phone. They come back in and you say, you know what? It's not a problem. You know what? We had this plan to do this whole art install. We don't have to do that anymore. Really, it sounds like the tank's going to be the biggest cost. Let's just go for it. Let's do it. 34,000 is fine. And it's just one of those moments where you're like, wow, must be nice. Or somebody doesn't understand this world at all. And you could have just, I mean, my sensei, my boss could have just been like, yep, that's what it's going to be. But instead he was like, no, I mean, I'll try to keep it under $5,000 and, you know, we can spend the money on upkeep in the future to do it right. So you pay someone like the time that they've earned, it's worth it. Because they were paying, I think, just for coming twice a week, I want to say for like 2 hours, they were going to pay $50,000 a year. Pretty wild, just because that was such a showpiece for the day one center and the spheres together. But I don't know where it landed now. I'd love to hear an update on that, but just wild. So already out of the gates, I want to make sure that I thank you, Johnny. Johnny, Angry Johnny, Johnny Best, the best Johnny I know. Thank you so much for gifting memberships, for bringing more sheep into the fold. We're not sheep, we're goats. We're cantankerous, angry goats that do whatever the hell we want. We eat other people's waste and leftovers and we turn it into fuel for thought. We're a herd of goats, not sheep, people. Okay, Mr. WWBB. I don't know what that means, but Mr. Maybe I'm dumb, but hello. 180 gallon, go crazy for that Orinoco setup. Yeah, totally. Yeah. All right. Sharif, wait, hold on. Sharfin Bean. Sharfin Bean. I don't know what that name means, but hello and congrats on your 29 gallon. That's pretty cool. You'll want more than a 75 for that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, I definitely would. I would definitely. I mean, I want a 500 for it if I can get that. I want but I'll take whatever I can get. I can't even get over a 65 right now in this house. That's the biggest tank I can have at the moment due to wife limitations. Although, if I was making like $5,000 a month or something on YouTube, all of a sudden, I'm sure all her reservations would go out the door and she'd be like, yeah, build those tanks, like bring them in. And we'd have like the unloading, the reverse beeping going just 24/7. So that's okay. Someday, maybe we'll get there. Fishery, what do you think about when people say live food keeps tanks cleaner? In my tanks is mentioning this. Then prepare food. I get what people mean when they say this, but for feeding high protein food can make much waste. Yeah, so this is a great topic. We could have a whole hour-long conversation about this. But do I think that live food keeps cleaner tanks? Yes, if it's in a proportion that live food is taking up its role as detrivores and as scavengers. So a lot of what fish eat live are larvae, are worms, are little ostracods, microcrustaceans. Almost all of that eats fungi, bacteria, plant debris, dead stuff, food that gets missed elsewhere. And if you are having a tank that some of that can survive, and at night maybe it hides and kind of comes out, and it can come out of the substrate, it can come out of the plants a bit, and it has a fighting chance. Like there's not, a school of 500 neon tetras that just would mow down every little thing all the time. And to be frank, a lot of people want a tank that's basically a sealed ecosystem, and they've got all their fish food in there in the form of living creatures. And the thing is, your fish will eat through that. You need like a 120 gallon, and you need the fish load of a 20 long with the insect microcrustacean and worm load, all the lower trophic level. It's a pyramid, guys. So the bottom of the pyramid has to be proportional. You need 10 times more at each level or whatever it comes out to for that energy to make sense. And if that can't survive in the aquarium, it doesn't make sense. Now, granted, it depends on your fish too. If you have like live bears, they're going to swim around. They're going to eat some algae. They're going to eat some duckweed. They're going to eat some live food. They're going to just kind of, browse around and eat a little bit of whatever. But when people just throw in a bunch of live food, it's actually not super high protein, generally speaking, unless it's stuff like freshly hatched brine shrimp or Daphnia. Now, Daphnia, if somehow you could get it to survive in an aquarium in a thick population density, then yeah, Daphnia would be great. It would be pretty high protein. But what I'm going to say here is going to sound counterintuitive because I like feeding live food, but I like using a turkey baster and like adding it to an existing ecosystem. If some gets away and can survive down in the substrate, great. Then it's a snack later. But the problem with most live food is it's like 80 or 90 or 98 or whatever it may be. It's a high percentage of water, especially with aquatic life forms. So it's really only like 4% protein by weight or something, you know, a lot of times. And so that's where I think people forget that then you need to feed a lot more. And so if you can get frozen food that's been flash frozen or flash dehydrated, you know, desiccated basically down to just its dry state, and it's 60% protein, well, that's going to make a way bigger mess than adding 15. I mean, if you weigh it out, dry weight versus wet weight, there's no comparison. The dry weight is going to cause way more oil slick and way more protein slick, way more ammonia. But it's also going to feed your fish way more food and nutrition and nutrients. Now, I do think there's a big value in seeing if you enjoy kind of a nature tank or an a biotope or kind of a biotype tank, when you want to see the role that that fish would have in the wild. If it is a fish that hangs out on the bottom and you want to add blackworms and scuds and I don't know, something else that hangs out low, snails, and it's like a loach or a puffer or something, then I think that's great. And you're going to get more of that behavior. You might even trigger more of the like breeding and natural responses. But I think that's an enrichment thing, kind of like giving treats to a dog or a cat, or kind of like giving, you know, they do puzzles for like smart animals at the zoo. They give them intelligent like puzzles that they have to figure out and turn a certain way or do a certain thing to get the treat out. And it's so they don't like become destructive or start pacing back and forth and, you know, start essentially getting depressed, but then a lot of times like deranged, like they get downright violent, especially like great apes and large cats and things like that. Bears, they'll take their frustration of being bored out as anger. And I think that fish oftentimes also get not enough stimulus, and they're in a tank and there's like maybe a diver that goes up and down that makes bubbles, and there's some like purple glass, you know, substrate, and there's some plastic plants, and like that kind of an environment for a fish is just not, it's not what it needs to feel engaged and a part of it. Whereas I could see if you've got like things like logs and places to hide, and there's different spots where it's learning, oh, I can dig a hole in the sand here and I might get some blackworms, or oh, I can go behind this log and oh, the Mr. Pleco's there, so I'm going to stay away from him, but then I'm going to try to find a spot to raise my babies, and I'm going to make a territory over here for that. And, you know, there's this current of water here. So even things like powerhead and current, I think all of that really does bring something to the life of those fish and to our experience as aquarists. Is it natural? Is it like, are we recreating nature? No. I think some people overdo that, but like overemphasize how much that's going on. But I do think that like there's a bare minimum we should try to uphold, both ethically and just like for fun, for keeping the hobby interesting. I have something on that note about hobbies and a recent study on humans that I'd really like to talk about later this live chat. But let me continue down the stream. I see we have a large super chat that I got to get to. And also, guys, hit that like button if you haven't yet. Hit it like you're angry at it. I mean, just double tap the screen if you don't see it already. Minimize out of chat. You know, we're not that great here in chat anyways. You're not talking, you're not going to meet your life partner here in chat anyways. So just minimize that. hit the like button, then come back to chat. If you leave me, I will hunt you down, and we're no longer friends. We are enemies. Andy Carson, what is going on? Ollie the Puffer, good to see you. But let's see, what do we see here? Alex, did you see green dwarf Loricariidae from Brazil called Hisonatus iota? Oliver Knott and Chris Lukoff posted about it. It looks like green auto. Do you know anything about it? I don't know about that, like anything more other than, yeah, I saw it. But no, I've been waiting to find out more. I don't know anything about it, but ask me again tomorrow. No, ask me again in a few days. I have a couple things that I'm hoping to like track down and look up that I've seen lately, you know, always on a mission of some sort. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Radina, good to see you. Running Water, good to see you. Are these tanks at the Spheres in downtown? Those, a couple of the tanks I was talking about were, but there's two bigger tanks, or maybe not bigger. There's two large tanks that are not anywhere where the public can see. Not even employees can see, other than corporate, like C-suite. It's not on site with those Spheres either, but it is in the Seattle area. So yeah, and that it's like for brainstorming and meetings with, like, Bezos is actually in their kind of thing at the time that they were built. I don't know if he even does anything anymore, but yeah. Knight Rider says, I bought a bag of scuds 5 years ago and haven't been able to get them out of my tank since. Yes, they are definitely able to do that. If you don't have like Corridora and something else like loaches that, and maybe dwarf cichlids, or yeah, loaches are best. Dwarf cichlids, loaches, catfish that hunt them down specifically and eat the hell out of them, eat all of them all the time, all day, anytime they see them. You will not get rid of scuds. It is difficult to get rid of them. If you have them in a shrimp tank or a nanofish tank, forget about it. You're going to have those forever. So I hope people know that. They are a food source that sticks around a long time. They also have a lot of shell. So by wet weight, there's a lot of waste, which that's a bit of a bummer, but they are pretty tasty. I mean, clearly the fish do like them. Hi, boo-boo. What? What are we doing? Are your paws all clear of kitty litter? Yes. Darabwire, what's up? All right, I'm gonna scroll down. Oh, and Mr. Walter White is what's with the name. Okay. Sydney Peterson, hello. How do phosphates impact neocaridina? It is the only parameter that I can isolate that might cause die-off. So phosphates are okay. Copper is okay too. Yeah, copper is a scary one for inverts. But phosphates, yeah, phosphates can kill a shrimp if they get too high. But really, look at your KH, GH, and your TDS. If that's all within the bounds of like what the care sheets generally say out there, then don't sweat it. If that's high and you think your phosphates are high, then it could be an issue. But what it would be, phosphates in most creatures, you know, it's going to be like an electrolyte type issue, and it's also going to be a shedding issue. So it's not going to be what you're going to see with shrimp, from what I've been able to gather when I did my deep dive on phosphates, is it can dehydrate tissue, and it can also make both healing and slime coat on fish difficult to care for. But in the sense of shrimp, what it can do is, when it can cause them to, one, crack or break, it doesn't have as much flexibility in their exoskeleton when they're getting ready to shed and drop it. And so it can crack, and you can get what's called the ring of death, which is right around the shoulder or the kind of back of the head of the shrimp. And if you see a space there for more than 6 to 24 hours, I don't know, it's fine to see it for 6 to 24 hours. If it stays like a couple days and then the shrimp can't shed, or you end up seeing a dead shrimp after you saw that, that's a sign that either that shrimp was sick, old, or that there's something off with your parameters, like we're talking about here. And that's how you would see it if it were something like that. Now, I will report that my cat, the flea and tick medicine that I gave her, now it's been 3 weeks. If I pet my cat and work in the tank over here that has Malawa shrimp aplenty in it, I have now 100% figured out that I cannot pet my cat and then work in that tank. Like, I don't know how long that's going to last or what, but literally when I trim a bunch of plant material in that tank now, I have killed about 5 or 6 shrimp. Like, they'll be there the next morning, pink and dying. Every time I had the cat and was holding her while she was checking out what I was doing. So there's definitely some sort of connection. And the third time I did it, I literally pet her where she had the flea and tick stuff applied. And then I literally just took one finger where I had pet her, and there was another container I set aside and I just put it in there. And I should record this. Maybe I'll do it one more time. But it definitely is what killed those shrimp, because they died in that cup and the other ones didn't. So the flea and tick stuff is really powerful. And it is amazing what some things can do to invertebrates. They don't have the biology that we do. And just as we can survive endurance and different things that they can't as humans, mammals, and so on, they can survive some interesting things that we can't as like crustaceans, as invertebrates. All right, let's see here. So Johnny did another gifted membership, which is wild. And look at that. We were down to the $50 super chat. It's freaking Johnny. Johnny, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you so much. Seriously. I don't really know how to thank you enough, man. It really is. It's going to be helpful, and hopefully, we have some new stuff coming up on the channel, and also, there's some new nerdy stuff. Like I don't know if you guys saw it. A lot of people probably didn't ever even get to see the thumbnail, but we did a reading, or I did. We flipped through a 1964 tropical fish hobbyist magazine, 60-year-old magazine we got to flip through, and we have 12 more of those. I thought if that's something that even just members really enjoyed, we'll do more of it. However, it's got less than, I think, well, in the first 2 days it had less than 1,000 views, and usually we're at 5 to 10,000 on a video that does okay, and like most of the views were y'all members, so you're holding it down, and I don't have a problem making content that's very pointed and nerdy and for a specific section of y'all. If that group of 500 of you or whatever are interested, especially if it's members and stuff, then hell yeah, we'll do more of it. But if it's like, nah, Alex, stay in your lane, do stuff that everyone likes, I understand that too. But it's folks like Johnny. I'm not gonna lie, I see Johnny like donate like that, and I am literally waiting for Johnny to ask about a subject, because now I'm like, I want to keep this dude happy. Is that fair? No. Is it bias? Yes. And I yeah, that's just the way the world works, friends. I try to do the same with anybody who's in the comments, who's in the live stream. Those of you who I've seen for years around the community, whether you're a member or not, I try to keep it in my head that like, oh, so-and-so wanted a video on this, I'll try to release that. Like, it's going to skip the line all the way, So just a heads up, like if you're really interested in something and you're like, I wish Alex would do research on this. Well, I do take bribes. So I'll leave it at that. All right, let's see here. Adam Weil, my fiance thinks it's cruel to keep caught fish. What would you say to her if you were me? I would find some videos where they catch fish in the wild. not with a hook, but with a net, and take a look at the percentage, random sampling of how badly fish look in general. If you look carefully and you're looking for stuff like chunks of scales just knocked off and there's like a raw spot, or you know, eyes missing, eyes gouged out, white foggy eye, whether that's a cataract or an infection, missing fins. Sometimes I've seen fish out collecting that literally the entire back half of the fish is missing and it has healed and somehow survived to live a few more weeks. Wild fish, you could say they had a great life, but do they? It's really open to argument because they are subjected to all the things that cause evolution, that cause life, that cause the food pyramid. You know, unless it's a predatory apex predator type creature, it is on the menu for something else. Beyond that, it's being exposed to everything from being fished for food, being fished, you know, and then released and put back. And you could argue that's stressful. I do a lot of catch and release fishing because that's what I have to do in certain locations. But honestly, I would rather do catch and keep fishing because I would rather cook that fish, eat it, and have it become part of my energy. And then that energy I can put to work doing something positive for the environment or enjoying my time outdoors and, you know, giving thanks and really enjoying my experience. And for me, the act of catching a fish and cooking it, or hunting for that matter, if I can use that animal and I'm going to use either hide or bones for jewelry or tools, you know, I will gladly and unapologetically hunt and fish for that. And I do so out of great reverence for the creatures. I would never do that if the creatures are, you know, at all threatened or endangered. But that brings up another point about fish that are being kept. Maybe I should make a video, just wild fish versus caught fish, and kind of hit the main points, because also so many fish have evolved to get, I mean, all living things evolve so that when they reproduce, their life no longer matters. So if a fish can make babies, then its life doesn't matter anymore. I'm sorry to say it, but that's the fact of survival of the fittest and passing on genes. So as soon as a fish reproduces, that's its peak importance in the food chain and in its slot in evolutionary history. So why does a fish like an angelfish live 10 to 20 years sometimes when it can reproduce 9 months to 18 months old, depending on how it's raised? That's an interesting question, right? And you could argue that it doesn't really matter. Once it passed on its genes, it doesn't matter anymore. Well, it kind of matters in that it gets to keep passing on its genes. The tougher, the more beautiful finnage it gets, the healthier it is. It shows its longevity, and then that gets passed on. So that does matter a little bit. But directly speaking, a lot of fish have the strategy of reproduce in 3 months. Like, I mean, look at killifish. Have 1,000 babies and then die. And in the forest every year, whether it's North America up here and the Pacific Northwest and salmon dying by the millions, or whether it's literally fish dying by the trillions in India and Southeast Asia and in Amazonia and, well, the South America all over. A lot of fish are essentially, they're not designed to be fish to live 5 or 6 years like they do in captivity. It's great that they do for us in captivity, but they're designed, their role in the ecosystem is to feed the forest. It's to feed other creatures. And that's why they've evolved the survival strategy of having 500 babies or having 3 babies that they take really good care of. So I can understand that alone causing some people to say, well, I think that fish take care of their young, or fish that take care of their young and that, you know, raise their young, I don't think they should be kept because I think they're smart and they have, you know, a whole set of feelings, yada, yada. I can understand that logic. I disagree. Personally, I think that like I think that that causes us as humans to have more empathy, and the good that watching a fish in an aquarium brings to your life when you're excited and you tell your friends and family and you show your friends and family and they come and they see it, or you share it online, and then other people are like, wow, that's really cool. Wow, their habitat's getting taken away, or oh, I should get one of those, whatever it may be. I mean, there are now 17 species that we have re-released in Goodeids alone. There's 3, but we've re-released fish that were fish in the aquarium hobby that scientists, aquariums, zoos had kind of dropped the ball on, and either universities or private collections of pet fish are the places that they survive. And then they have been brought together through organizations and efforts, and it brings diversity. If someone in Germany and someone in America and someone in Australia has a little bit of a population, and then you can bring those together, you mix that population, you re-release that after you breed that, and you know you're watching it, and it makes for something possible to reintroduce a fish in a lot of places, for instance, like Tanganyika, where it is very likely that those fish will not be there in 30 years, like a lot of the varieties. So I think the fact that fish don't have a good life in the wild, or you could argue they have a great life, they have a better life in the wild, but it's kind of fast and furious. And, you know, there's only one male that gets access to all the females in a lot of cases, or, you know, it's a case where they just spray reproductive agent all over the gametes that the females have left in the case of salmon on the ground. Whatever it may be, like, what is a best life for a fish? We talked about this with bettas too. And I think at the end of the day, you say that, you know, a fish doing what it evolved to do, taking up the niche that it exists in and getting to utilize, oh, it's an archer fish. It can squirt bugs out of the air, you know, and eat them. To me, an archer fish's best life should be somewhere where it gets to do that. If we can't provide that in our aquarium, then I understand where some people think that that's mean or that you should keep a different kind of fish. And that's kind of where I draw the line too, in that I think that. Now, however, there are plenty of archer fish out there. And I think that, you know, the good it may do in teaching someone about that fish and the amount that they may go to college and study it or something, or, you know, whatever it may be that they do later in life, you never know what butterfly effect that will have. And I think that that's definitely something with fish that we can cause that to happen. Guys, I know we've got a couple big super chats I saw here, so I'm going to skip some stuff, and no offense, just ask the question again. If you're still here, I can't believe you, Nirvana Aquatic. Serena, thank you so much. You don't need to do that. You already help out so kindly as a moderator on Discord, and you know so much more than me. And I need to like learn more about Discord again. We need to like, I mean, I see who's on the Discord, and like we're getting there. We're kind of still building steam, and I'm putting documents in there and stuff, but I'm trying to you know, I want it to be a place where I don't need to be, where y'all can also just share and revel in, like, hey, this paper came out. Who wants to read it? You know, oh, wow, I think that's interesting. Who wants to read about gonopodial hooks and the fact that, you know, these live bears, you can track their evolution across the Caribbean islands from the mainland by how violent their gonopodial hooks are. Like some have literal on their fin, the gonopodium, that's basically the hoo-ha fin for the male live bearers. Some of them have, if you look at it up close under a microscope, it's scary. I was scared. I don't know how I ended up on this oh, I do know how I ended up on this subject, and it may be coming out as a video eventually, okay? But I ended up finding this 1958 paper on gonopodial structures in Posiliad species. And look at the very end of that fin. These are all different species, and it's talking about how we can track who's related. Look at that fin, or look at the fin on the far this way on your screen. So the one that is over yonder up top, look at how violent that is. There are little hooks made out of keratin and bone-like structure. And not only are there two that come out, there are also two more at the top, and then there are serrated blades at the back of the gonopodium. Holy hell, that is a nightmare. I feel so bad for the female. That's a metallic live bearer, by the way. And his gonopodium is long enough that it goes past his head. He can flex it past his head, the black chin live bearer. Terrifying stuff. The stuff of nightmares, really. Also, CW, thank you so much for the super chats, guys. I really do appreciate it. Just wanted to thank you for your detailed reply about QT on the Facebook group. Your time was appreciated. Oh, thank you so much. You know, I try my best to still answer comments and in videos and stuff. And now we're at a point where I can't do that the way I used to. I used to have the time that in a 4-hour period or less, I could answer everybody's comments. But today, on average, I get around 400 to 500 comments on all my past videos, plus whatever comes in the email, plus whatever's on the Facebook group, plus whatever's on Discord. And I try to still spend that 4 hours for sure, if not more, on that. But it's always a minimum of 4 hours every day of the week, unless I'm like super sick or, you know, some really special family thing. And I'm hoping that in doing so, one, we're building community, and two, like, I see myself, my role here, at least as somebody who can help curate knowledge. And I may not have the answer, but I happen to know a lot of people now after years of doing this that do know the answer. And hopefully I can get you in contact with them. You can get in contact with them. You guys can chat about it. And then you can come back and tell me what you learned if I don't have an answer for you quickly. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Also, again, Keith746. We got another 5 gifted memberships. I want to shout you out, Keith. You make me want to shout, put my hands up and shout, I'm probably deafening people with ear headphones. Earphones? Earmuffs? Head muffs? Head muffs. Anyway, sorry about that. Sorry, guys. I should probably be more aware about my ASMR fellow listeners. Anyways, thank you so much, y'all who get the new memberships for free. Come on in. The water's fine. Hi, Kitty. I love you too. And come on in. We got over 200 episodes that are just members only. Or Fishery that only aired once and not on this channel. They aired on the Aquatic Morning Show. And you can just listen. The playlist that says podcast friendly, and you can listen to all these episodes. And some of them are, 20 minutes long, but it's because it's 3 or 4 stories put together. But they're like short stories on science, education, interesting little tidbits, new species, stuff that's going on in the world of the hobby. And yes, I still am hoping to keep these up, keep that going. We did a live stream for members only the other day, and I had fun with that. So hopefully we'll keep that going as well. We'll keep a little bit of all that going. And I do miss the Aquatic Morning Show too, Asya. I really miss that for sure. Let's see here. I'll probably try it if Alex doesn't have another idea. Last time I did a very high concentration, like 10 milliliters per gallon, maybe. Okay, what are we talking about here? Now I'm curious. Semi-feral Jill. I like that name too. Yes. Yeah, ducks. Ducks are really terrifying the way they reproduce. Cats are pretty bad too. 3% hydrogen peroxide. I forget the amount per gallon. Plants should be okay. Drifter's Workshop. I've done this before. It really worked out. I advise to remove the plants. I've burned plants before. I don't know why. I mean, sometimes I've used H2O2 or hydrogen peroxide, and it's gone swimmingly. It's gone great. Other times I've just like burnt the hell out of my plants and I don't know why. And I find out like 2 days later when like they turn yellow and the leaves start falling apart. That really, really frustrates me. But yeah. Uyo, this is an interesting one. What would be good live food culture for goldfish? Honestly, worms, like normal worms. If you have a worm bin, they will love that. Goldfish are pigs. Goldfish are going to make a lot of waste, and they just do. They make a lot of ammonia pound for pound. They will eat duckweed. So I would say grow some duckweed and let them eat that. Let them keep that in check. That will help regulate their stomach, and it will also give them a lot of vitamin D, E, A, and it's going to give them vitamin C as well as protein, and it will keep them regular. I don't know who has a problem with goldfish having diarrhea, but someone, I'm sure. Hi, honey. Hold on. Hold on, baby kitty. Come here. Come here. Baby kitty. She brings this butterfly to me all the time. This butterfly is her life. And she will put it on my computer. She'll put it on my feet. She'll jump on my back with it in her mouth. She just loves this butterfly. And I bought her 4 of these things from PetSmart, and she rips them apart. Right now, this is a fairly intact one, and you can already see the damage she's doing. She's already ripped off the little, there was fabric that kind of sandwiched everything. She ripped that off, and then she ripped the lace pretty good. It's pretty much all off. And then she also chewed the way it connects to the to the wand it's supposed to go on. She's done that just great. So I say kitty kitty, and we play fetch, and she will most likely come and bring it back to me if you can see here my shame, my leg up unwrapped. Looks like I have a giant leg. Kitty, come on. Where you? No, you are right where we can't see your cuteness. Cat, where did you go now? Oh, there you are. Okay. There's your butterfly. All right. Let's see. Ow. Come on, baby girl. All right. So we're gonna take your butterfly. We're gonna wrap it up so I can throw it because this thing's so light. And we're gonna say, kitty, kitty, kitty. We're gonna throw it into the other room. We're gonna go this way instead of that way because she's expecting it to go that way. So, kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow, meow. Meow, meow, baby kitty. Come here. There we go. Good girl. That's my baby girl. Come here. She'll do this for hours. Hi, baby girl. That's a good girl. And yeah, she'll just do this over and over. Oh, you gonna play hard to get? Let go of your butterfly. Okay, one more time, and then I gotta give attention to the lovely people. That one went in her food dish. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be wet. Great. Oh, gross! It's all wet. All wet. Okay. All right, one more time, baby. You want this? You want this? You want this? You cute little kitty. Say hi to the people. Oh, you like my wine cellar, even though I don't drink it all. So I guess that's all my wife's wine cellar. All right, for this the last time, and then I gotta pay attention to the people. You know I'll play with you all week. I play with you all week. You have my attention all week, little kitty. Come on, come on, come on, come on, be true, please be true. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Bump. Let's see if she'll hop up on the counter. Boo boo, what are you doing? I can hear you purring. Okay, well, whatever. Back to the questions about fish. It's enough of this nonsense. Cat playing fetch. What do we have next? A goldfish that plays piano? Not on my watch. But yeah, I would say give a big animals. Give meal worms and crickets to goldfish. They'll love them. They'll eat big stuff. Okay. Touche. What would you treat a planted tank with to eradicate a bacterial issue before adding new fish to the tank? Removing the remaining sick fish, but I want to tank for it. Yeah, that's a tough one. Oh man. I had Vibrio and I'm making a video. I'm hoping it's ready by tomorrow, but lately I've been you probably can't tell, but a perfectionist about how I'm editing things. I'm trying to get the word out of my vocabulary as well, because when I'm thinking off the cuff and not reading a script, I say but what's worse than that is when I'm reading from a script, I say even more, because it's like an awkward pause. It's like before I say something, but there's some amount of it that I want to be conversational and realistic, of like, what you would get if you were just hanging out with me. I don't want to be a robot that's like perfect at speech. Okay, now she's got it. You got the butterfly. All right. Oh, are you gonna? What's going on, Sumi? Are you bringing me the butterfly? Oh, you're gonna go elsewhere. What she's gonna do is she's gonna leave it at my feet, and then she's going to start clawing my feet. Uh-huh. Ow. Yes, that's exactly what she did. Okay. Let's see here. But yeah, what would I treat it with? I mean, honestly, hydrogen peroxide or bleach are probably the easiest things. Yeah, if it were, I'm just so scared of it being in the substrate. If it's something real bad, like Vibrio I had and it killed all my fish, and I literally put boiling water in a tank, which was dumb in the first place because I probably like loosened the seam with the silicone. And yes, can I help you? Anyways, so I probably loosened the seam with the silicone and stuff. So what's the best way to do it? According to UW bleach, University of Washington ichthyology department, or actually it's their aquaponics lab, and they basically said, yeah, use bleach in water. And I don't remember the ratio off the top of my head, but you could find out. that pretty easily probably. And then it's a matter of, yeah, even within 24 hours, it will evaporate off. But just use dechlor with it, rinse it with dechlorinated water with a like C-Chem Prime or Safety or one of those. Put that in like a 5-gallon bucket of water, pour that into the tank, slosh it around, get the substrate nice and sloshed around with it. When you're done mixing with the bleach or the hydrogen peroxide. The thing about hydrogen peroxide is hydrogen peroxide within 30 seconds to a minute usually turns into its constituent parts. It bonds or breaks, and it either turns into O2, a little bit of O3, that it's not important, which is ozone. And yes, the oxidization that occurs when ozone forms is a sterilizing, has a sterilizing effect. But the O2, the hydrogen, and the H2O are basically the hydrogen gas, oxygen, and the water. That's what's going to come out of H2O2 when you put it in water. And so will it sterilize? Yeah. But I don't know how quickly it works if we're talking about real nasty stuff. And vinegar isn't going to touch like real hardcore viral stuff. Cat. So I don't know. I don't know there. That's a tough one. But I would say, yeah, I would do the bleach thing if you're really worried about it. If you're not super concerned and it was just like a little bacterial infection on a fish and maybe a couple got it and you're like, okay, I've seen that before. I was able to treat it a little bit. That's one thing. But when it like, if it killed everything in your tank from pleco to tetra to, I don't know, to pencil fish, like all different sorts of fish, then I would be that's the nuclear option. Bleach is kind of the nuclear option, but it is actually a pretty good option in that bleach will fully come out as well, whereas any other cleaning agent, even like vinegar and other stuff like that, like then you got to worry about like, is it left, how do I dilute it and wash it out? So really, it is one of the gold standards. Now, there's also things like potassium permanganate and like other things that old timers used to use that I can't even think of all of them right now. But there are a number of other things that you could use, but none of them are practical really, unless you happen to have like a giant tank of that chemical or a vat of it for some industrial use somewhere. Let's see here. Heavyweight champ, Alex, how would you remove bleach and how long would it take? I don't know what Vibrio is. Thank God I've never run into this. How do you avoid a tank bacterial infection in the first place? Well, okay, so basically a bacterial infection in a tank, there's bacteria that can grow in a tank that is less than ideal, that produces a negative chemical reaction. Just like cyanobacteria creates cyanotoxins, there are bacteria, not very common in the hobby luckily. There are other bacteria that can bloom if things are out of whack. Like say you have a ton of organic compound built up in the tank. Actually, this is something, before we talk about this, I wanted to say another thing, which is, so I talked the other night to somebody and they had a question, and the question was, how did they word this? If it's dangerous to have fish break down, like, is it dangerous to, when your fish dies, to put it and just let it just chill in the bottom of your tank and like maybe push it into the substrate like Father Fish recommends? Is that dangerous? And what I brought up was, not necessarily, but if the fish died for a reason other than like a injury, a physical blunt force injury or fighting or something like that, then it's likely not well. It either had a parasite or an illness, or, it could have had an aneurysm or something, but, that happens even to fish. But there's a high likelihood that something is wrong that is communicable. So why would you want that in your tank? That's my first argument. But beyond that, say you're just not worried about it. You don't think it died of anything communicable. And you think your other fish are plenty healthy. You got a whole ecosystem, and it's full of nutrients. It's a fish. It's got all that. It's got all the liver, the kidneys, all that. Not to mention, it's got the liver and the kidneys, which, while that's good stuff, it's got nutrients and things in it. It also is where waste gets handled, and it's got the waste in it too. And in a sense of the blood and everything, it filters waste. So when you put that in your substrate, the guy was asking, like, what's the problem with doing that? And I said, well, in our aquarium, he said, isn't that natural? Like, naturally, what's the problem? Well, the problem is the potency of the poison and the space for the tank. In an ecosystem, it's fine to have a dog, a coyote, or a bear even fall over and die. Maybe even you'll have fungus growing on it, and then you'll have animal scavenging, or first you'll have animals scavenging on it, then you'll have insects laying eggs in it and things, then you're going to have fungus on it, then you're going to have bacteria and archaea and all these things, protease, all these things living on it, living off of it. Then you're going to have high nitrogen and carbon and all these other things, and it's going to, like, flowers will probably grow there. Some sort of plant eventually will grow there, most likely, if it's in an area conducive to that. Well, then you got the calcium of the bones and all this sort of stuff. That's great. But in our aquarium, it's not the same as, even if it's a little pond and a bear dies at the edge of the pond or something, that could poison a whole pond. I mean, people historically, there's accounts of people putting like a couple dead animals, like a cow or a horse, into a well or into a drinking source for an entire castle that fed and housed and watered 1,000 people and a couple hundred animals. And back in medieval times, you could ruin that with a couple spoiled animal corpses. So even that is too much for an ecosystem. So what do you think is going to happen in an aquarium proportionally if you have an Oscar or something that dies in a 40-gallon breeder? It's a lot for it to handle. It's fine in nature. Sure, it's natural, man. Arsenic's natural. Mercury's natural. Meteors are natural. I mean, so that's my little plea on that on that front, is the size of what's going on is what's going to matter. If you have a 40-gallon tank, a 40-gallon breeder, and you got substrate, and you have a neon tetra that passes away, no, not going to matter. If you have, but anyways, so the bacteria, back to the bacteria now. The bacteria issue, you can have bacteria that does have issues in the tank. What's that look like? You're probably not going to know anything other than a smell. If you smell a bad smell and you see fish doing very poorly, you might know that something's up. Cyanobacteria has a very distinctive smell when it's the kind with cyanotoxins. And you can smell the cyanotoxins. As a human, we have evolved to smell that that's foul, that it's got like this vegetative, rotting, putrid, yet chemically, like almost like strong hay mixed with a volatile alcohol-y kind of smell. And that is a warning to us to, like, don't drink that water, don't eat that, whatever. And bacteria, if there's a bloom that's causing problems, just like at the beach, you can get red tide and things like that. More often than not, it's actually going to be algae, cyanobacteria, or a protist or something like that that's going to harm the fish, especially in a small space. But theoretically, bacteria can bloom. You can get all sorts of nasty things in theory. Is it going to happen to you? It's like 1 in a 500,000 chance. I don't know what the odds are. It's slim enough that I've never encountered that stuff happening in an aquarium, first or second hand. I've never seen reports of it. but I'm sure it could happen. I'm sure you could get red tide in an aquarium if that bacteria got in there and the other bacteria that was already in the aquarium was not optimal and there were dead fish for it to feed on or whatever it needed. Yes, it could do its thing. That would be bad, and you'd need to clean the whole aquarium if that happened. But there are other targeted bacteria, such as what's called warm water Vibrio. There's also cold water Vibrio, but that is an infection that usually gets into shellfish. It gets into snails, oysters, clams, and it doesn't necessarily kill them, but it is hosted, and then we eat it, and that's when you get shellfish poisoning. It is when you get the shellfish toxic poisoning, like the level where you got to go to the hospital. Not just like I'm a little stomach upset, I got some diarrhea and some vomit. No, this is like 3 days of it, and dehydrated to almost a deathly point. You know, that kind of like as gnarly as it can get. And Vibrio is the class of bacteria that's in there. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but I had some plants that I put in an aquarium. They must have had snails from the outdoors in them. Now, I had sticklebacks that I was keeping at this time, and I probably collected the plants when I collected the sticklebacks. Sticklebacks are fresh and saltwater plant or fish. So this water, in theory, had a connection to salt water as well. But there were definitely some sort of little bladder or pond snails that were in there. Now, what happened is I noticed, just because of the translucency of the belly of a lemon, I had a lemon pleco with blue eyes and the beautiful lemon 144A strain. Or 144B, I should say, not the 1970s strain that is lost, but the one that was made by humans that is your ancestress, your yellow ancestress with the blue eyes. It's not albino, it's just leucistic. So I had those. I got them from Aquatic Arts. I was so excited. I had them. They were just spawning. And I had a couple wood cats, and I had some of the ninja wood cats, and I also had some of the Tatia galaxia and then the Tatia mosaica. All critters that eat off the bottom of the substrate, that eat dead stuff. So the first critter that I had that died was the big male out of, so I had 5 or 6 plecos that were the lemon plecos. I had one male that was older than all the rest, and he was a good 3-year-old male. And if you can go back and watch these videos, and it says something like, you know, all my tanks are ruined, or all my plecos are dead, or something, you know, whatever I said at the time 8 or 9 years ago. But it was a big old pleco, like 7 inches or whatever. And they have a kind of spiral looking belly. And at first I thought, oh, it's just a spiral in his belly. And then I realized, oh, he has a blockage. It's, and he was dead. I mean, he was dead. I took him out. I just reached my hand in there, not knowing what was going on. Looked at him, and I looked him over just to see what was going on. And I saw immediately he had a lump in his kind of like above where the little cinnamon bun swirl is on a pleco that's usually fecal matter. Above his that, right at the edge of it, there was another spiral, and it looked like a snail. And I was like, what the heck? So, you know, made sure the thing is dead. I'm looking at its gills. I'm looking at its stomach. I've cut open it with an X-Acto knife, and I have gloves on at this point. Well, there's a snail in its throat, basically. And like way deep in its throat. And I look at it, and I have cut it open, and I just noticed the little ram's horn type snail. And I didn't think anything of it other than, oh, it choked on the snail. Dang. Like, I didn't think they ate snails. I've never seen them eat snails before. How weird. And it was very small, and that was that. And I thought, huh. But the snail, when I found it, was crushed. It was all smashed up. And only the center of the shell was still good. That's what I was seeing through the skin or through the intestines. And the most of the snail red mush was still there. So about 12 hours later, I come back down, and I look at my tank, and there's the female that was paired off with that, and another male that already had the onodontodes, the whiskers, and they both had lesions, holes in their side, and I could see their rib cage and spine on them. It looked like a horror movie. It was some of the grossest stuff I've seen in the fish room. And I was like, holy smokes, what is going on? You know? And so I pulled them out immediately. I put them in a quarantine tank, and I'm adding almond leaf, and I'm getting them an anti-gram positive bacterial treatment, antibiotic. I'm dosing that. I'm doing general cure just in case too. And then another 6 hours pass. I go to sleep or whatever, and another 6 hours pass. Every woodcat in the tank now has died and is floating at the top that the plecos were in. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And all the little woodcats are dead, and a lot of them are ruptured from the stomach outward. Their stomach and their throats look like something had ravaged or savaged them. Ulcerated all the way from the mouth or gill all the way down to the center of the stomach, all the way to the cloaca in some cases. Just like, I mean, it looked like chupacabra work or something. And it smelled really bad too. It was very, very foul smell. And I start shooting out emails and saying, like, what is going on? And all of a sudden, the quarantine tank that I had put those bristlenose in had a couple guppies and some other things in it. They all die within, I don't know, 18 hours maybe. And the last pleco that was in the group tank finally died 48 hours later. But I lost 3 tanks worth of critters in about 2 days. And they were all well-planted tanks and stuff. And they all died with these terrible blisters and like holes in them. And I had no idea what it was. Nobody watching knew what it was. You know, nobody could tell me anything. We all didn't know. We were all really kind of scared of it. And I took it to the University of Washington fish research folks, you know, tried getting a hold of different people. They were so concerned that they sent it to a pathology lab for the state. And they had it checked, and sure enough, it was warm water Vibrio that had jumped from a snail, most likely. And that's when I realized, oh, I bet it was in the snail. The snail got eaten by the pleco, and then the pleco got the infection open in its stomach. It then got to the flesh. Then the other catfish and stuff probably fed a little bit on the wound of that, or it just opened up into the water. But I was told by the lab at the Washington State lab, like, wash your hands, bleach the tank. Just, they said, take half a bottle of bleach and pour it in the aquarium, in the 40-gallon breeder, and then in the 20 long and the other 20 long. And they said, your fish are gone. Like, sorry, any fish that were in there that are, if you have anything that's still alive in there, it's not now, all gone. And, you know, it's a little mysterious still, running water. Can snail carry that into cold water? So they usually have it in cold water, like out in, like the red tide comes usually under colder water. Now there's also like the algae type and the cyanobacteria red tide, which happens in Florida and the Gulf Coast. That's a little different, but Vibrio can grow on algae as well. And when it happens, the red tide like that, I reported on a case of it in Tampa that was so bad when the sargassum seaweed was piling on in Tampa, St. Pete, and Fort Myer, that like they actually brought bulldozers to dig trenches and to bury it because it was aerosolizing. And just like a chemical weapon, like warfare, just like they can do with anthrax, this stuff has been studied by the government. This specific type of bacteria has been studied because it can be a weapon. It can be aerosolized into a semi-dormant form that will live for like years. And then it can be breathed in. Once it's breathed in respiratorily, it can then cause like irritation and issues. But once like you start bleeding, apparently then it can become a really bad infection. So kind of crazy. But yeah, interesting stuff, scary stuff. I literally tossed those tanks. I tried doing a bleach where I literally put a ton of bleach in, all my plants melted, it turned into this gross stew. Then I dechlorinated, I poured all the water out, I siphoned all the water out, and then I got all the substrate out, put new substrate in, and I don't know if it was by chance or I didn't cycle it well enough, but in one of those 20 gallons, I then ended up putting more fish in it again about 6 months later. They died all within a week of me putting like guppies and danios in it to try it out, and a couple cories once it was cycled. And so I threw that tank out too. I was so fed up. I don't know if that was for sure the cause or if they got sick from like how much bleach might have still been under the sand under that point or something, or I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, very interesting that exists and that it's possible. I'm kind of like happy or amazed that it happened to me, because I've only heard of that occurring to several other people, and to get it confirmed at a lab like that was like another godsend, and another like, oh, thank goodness one of my viewers knew someone who knew someone at UW who was like, fascinated by what was going on, and they're like, we need to check this out. But this is also why you don't do things like let a pleco go, or take a sunfish from the wild, put it in your aquarium with other fish that are captive fish, or even plants that are captive, and then take the sunfish and throw it back in the wild. Like, you can actually, cause a massive issue these ways. So yeah, that is what's up with that. Now, I want to talk about one more thing that it came up today, and Steven Situ, hello. And now the NIH and military is all of a sudden interested in fish keeping. Yeah, right. So anyways, what I was gonna say, oh wait, hold on. Heavyweight champion says, should I quarantine snails if they carry this bacteria? How would you know if they were infected if you did quarantine them? Side note, I just introduced two so neorites probably not going to be a problem. They're from the tropics, and they're from overseas tropics. Also, warm water wouldn't be the issue. It'd be colder water, oysters and shellfish. This is a bacteria that probably got into a freshwater invasive snail that was on plants, like a bladder snail or something, then got into ram's horn snails, because it's such in a snail shell is such a cozy little place for bacteria, for fungi, for parasites. I cannot tell you how gross, in my opinion, snails are for being a parasite host or for being a pathogen host. They carry a lot of nasty, nasty stuff. Stuff like sleeping sickness in Africa is a snail, and then it has its, it has a parasite get into it. The parasite then comes out into shallow bits of water, and you can't even see it, but it's a little like worm type thing, and it lays an egg in your foot. And then that climbs up into your body and makes you sick to the point where you can die quite easily. In fact, that's why all of sub-Saharan Africa did not have beasts of burden. They tried cattle, they tried goats so many times, and they could not get that in this banded area called the sleeping sickness zone. Ethiopia and parts of the northern Sahara got it, and down way far south where there's not sleeping sickness, in South Africa, as well as part of Namibia and Mozambique also had it. But everything from horses to camels to domesticated elephants, None of that was possible in a large part of Africa because of this damn sickness that we didn't figure out until recently. Now, granted, that Vibrio thing was a real weird one-off type thing because I was collecting, and it's a cold area where I live in Seattle, collecting saltwater, brackish estuary plants and not cleaning them at all first. There's lots of ways you can clean plants first, but just like making sure there's not freaking snails on them. I wasn't doing that. I was literally just tossing them in and not worrying about it at that point in my hobby. But I mean, the fact that it was Vibrio, the lab was shocked. I mean, they're like, it shouldn't survive past, whatever, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Like, it should die. And they're like, yeah, well, there's adaptive strains of all sorts of stuff. Like, it's getting warmer and warmer in nature as well. And the Vibrio is just able to survive in the saltwater, warmer and warmer places. Now, even on the East Coast, you guys have warmer water than the Pacific. Vibrio likes like 45 to 50 degree water. It likes very cold water, not just like, 60 degree kind of water. It likes icy cold water. That's right, drifters. Yeah, I wouldn't worry a ton about the snails, but it's something to be aware of, that wild caught snails that are freshwater have co-evolved with a lot of pathogens and a lot of parasites. Most of them require intermediates, so a bird or a mammal or a fish, and they need that middle stage, or they need a pond, and then they need an insect, and then they go through mosquito bites. And we're safe because of the fact that it's so complex like that. That being said, if you have an open cut and you're working in your tank, there are reports, if you really dig, of some of these things like Vibrio being present enough that they got it. Now, I actually got the right now, the wound in my foot had a bacteria called Lactocinius urinus, I think is Lactocinius urinus. And I was like, I never heard of that bacteria. It doesn't that, and I'm shocked, like I've heard of every bacteria. No, I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. And I saw it on the readout on my medical sheet, and it had a note for me from the lab. This is about just recently my foot. And they said, this is usually found for people who work on crabbing boats and or fishing vessels and or in canneries / also there's reports of basically handling fish. It's from aquacultural and fish related things. And it's kind of interesting because they have that database, which is great. Someone at a cannery cut themselves open and then kept working and handled fish with their slime coat coming off the ship or whatever out of the cooler up in Alaska or wherever it may be, tuna, I don't know. So they had the note though that speak to patient about recent contacts. It is a Sumi. Are you supposed to be on the counter? Sumi, are you kidding me right now? Are you supposed to be eating butter? Or on the counter? No. What are you doing? Get down. Get down. My mom came over last night and we had rolls. I don't normally leave butter out because I know better. Yeah, damn, she really don't care. No, that cat, she is something else. when I get vinegar in a spray bottle and I get her with it, the only thing that scares her about it is the noise. So I can put water in it and not even point it at her and just squirt it in the air, and she's scared of that for a moment just because it sounds like a cat hissing. Like any noise she doesn't like at all. But literally, we have drenched her in half water, half apple cider vinegar. We've tried white vinegar. We've tried I don't know. My wife's tried like 15 different things: lemon water, pepper water, cayenne pepper in water. She does not care. She'll just close her eyes and put her ears back and get soaked and put her paws down and lean back as if she's in a windstorm. Nothing will stop her that way. I mean, you'd have to, hitting her in the eyes. She just closes her eyes. That's all she does. And she is 1 year old. So she is at that age where, like, nothing's going to stop her from doing whatever. Like, literally, I don't think there's any way I can stop her from, doing what she's going to do. And she drinks out of my aquarium constantly. Kitty cat, move. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. And I see we have another super chat, a super duper chat. Justin Starbuck, what is up? There's a name. Like the band, there was a band called Starbuck that had a one-hit wonder, and it was like, oh, all right, tonight. 80s song. Feels right tonight. All right. Anyways, it's a pretty bad song. But hello, Starbuck. Thank you for your education and building this community of knowledge. I'm a member now. Right on. Thank you, my friend, and welcome. And thank you for the support. It really does mean a lot. It lets me do this full time. It lets me not worry about things like, is that video going to hit? Like, is it going to get 5,000 or 10,000 views? Am I going to make $38 or am I going to make $52 off of the video? Well, when someone does a super duper chat or a PayPal or any of those things or becomes a member, it pads me, and then I can say, ha, and I can just cover whatever y'all are shouting about in the chat, what you want to hear. And we can do that and have fun. Okay. So I appreciate you encouraging the fun. All right. Also, I appreciate Johnny yet again. I don't know what you just have it set to like give memberships to people. That is very nice of you. Very, very nice of you. Thank you, buddy, again. Also, a little bit of news. You can ask a question, Trader J, of course, buddy. The Aquarium Co-op, May 3rd, is expanding their store. They've had it built for 2 years, but they are officially expanding May 3rd. I got a little notice today in my email, and Corey himself, he will be there. He will be signing autographs, and I'll be there when that's over because I'm not waiting in that madness. Especially when I used to go there and he was like the guy who worked at the store. Now he's never there. But I do like that store. I do like the fish they have. I like the people who work there. They pick good people to work for them usually. And, I think it's a cool thing to have in the community. I wish it was a literal co-op. That's my big gripe with the name, is that Aquarium Co-op, they should buy fish from aquarists and then sell them to aquarists and not just buy stuff overseas and make all their stuff overseas. So maybe, I don't know, maybe with all this stuff going on right now, maybe there's more incentive to build here. That would be cool because we saw Aquarium and other places are switching up. If we talked about that 2 weeks ago, and if you look at Skeptical Aquatics, he had a live stream and a video where he talked both about Aquarium, and they say, oh, we're an American fish tank company. Yeah, that's true. They make some tanks in America, but they're not admitting to how many other kinds they have in the past and do now not make in America, or they assemble in America, but they make the parts in China, or they assemble in Mexico or China or India, and then here. It's shifted a lot. And so I don't know what the case is right at the moment, but it's interesting that Petco like booted them, and now Petco is not using them. And or there's another, like, just the last bit of the line is still there at Petco. And then PetSmart is still using Aquarium. But I've noticed that I no longer see the Made in Mexico tab, and it's not even a sticker. It's a piece of paper that they jam into the silicone lining at the stores by my house. I want to know if this is a West Coast thing or a whole all 2.5 and 5.5 gallons. Are they all made in Mexico by hand? That's fine. I don't care where they're made, honestly. But I'm just interested in the saga of this information, and like why one place would be made one spot and another, and all that sort of stuff. Are there any forums to find people to sell fish besides Reddit? Well, there's Aquabit, of course, and then there's Facebook groups where you can't officially sell fish. eBay is still around right now to sell fish. They backed out for the US, and they are going to allow fish to keep being sold. But those are all options. Reddit's an option. Craigslist, I suppose, if you're local, but really like your local fish club. I mean, I'm fine with people talking about it, what they do outside of my Discord in their free time, or my Facebook for that matter. We can't talk about buying and selling stuff like openly on those forums, as far as I know. Morph Market is another one that's going to be open to fish. Vivi was around, but that closed down. Get Gills closed down. So there were places around. There are places around. But honestly, I think you're best off in literally trying to meet the hobbyists. Like, go out, try to find a hobbyist that raises whatever it is that you are excited about. If it's cichlids or killifish or whatever, live bears. Find that group of people, see someone who's posting pictures of stuff you like, and then private message them. Be like, hey, is there any way you'd sell to this? You know, that's the best way to do it these days, I think. And Facebook is where a lot of, especially like baby boomers, are going to be. So it's where I hang out too. And I'm an honorary baby boomer, I guess. Jaws or Yas, thank you so much for 5 more gifted memberships. We're just loading it up here. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. Tonight has been very kind. My wife gets back in town tonight, and that'll be good. But I mean, it's just it's a good night. I'm feeling the vibe. I always love, live streams. When I'm feeling well, there ain't nothing in the world like a brown-eyed girl to make me act so funny, make me spend my money. I gotta rewrite that song for fish. There ain't nothing in the world like a pink wrasse squirrel to make me act so funny, make me spend my money like a big school of fish on my something dish. I'll figure it out. I can't do it on the fly. I'm not that good. Anyways, can I what? Can I huh? Mick, what's up? Good to see you. Just finished my late night boxing of 6 young Epistogramma Rossi. Oh man, Rossi for a friend. What, man? My mouth. Also, I've gotten a few gifted, and I just wanted to pay it forward. Joss, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Like your little icon with the kitty cat and the name. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, thank you. Really, it does matter. It helps. Mary Kay gifted another membership. I was going to clap, but I know I'm going to hurt everybody's sensitive ears. We got sensitive ears. We're fish people. We're very sensitive to loud stuff. You sell fish on Etsy. Oh, fish stuff on Etsy. Yeah, that's true. I can sell anything, even my liver. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, I need to actually get rid of one of my kidneys, most likely. They found a growth on it like a year ago, and it hadn't grown in 6 months. And then again, in a year, it had only grown 1/4 of a millimeter. Like they just put a tattoo on me to like triangulate where it's at. And now it's grown, I don't know, 1/4 or 1/2 a millimeter in almost 2 years. But they said it's growing so slow and it's not really doing anything, that like not to worry about it. They're not going to biopsy it, because doing that would be more invasive and dangerous than just letting it chill. But basically, it's on the liner of my kidney, and I haven't made a big dramatic post like, guys, I have cancer. But apparently I most likely do. It's just real slow and on a kidney. And the plan is like, hey, when it's time, kidney, gotta go. So keep the other one in good shape is basically what they told me. And we're just monitoring it. But yeah. But how much for a kidney? I mean, I kind of want to keep 2. I don't really want just one backup. Let's see here. Alex is thanking all of you for super chats, memberships, and watch hours you spend on his videos. That's right. I sure am. Ask to keep it. Oh, I should. I always want to keep stuff after I have surgeries where they remove stuff. Like I don't know how much of this I should divulge, but I had a pellet of sorts from a wad of sorts in my shoulder because of an idiot friend of sorts when we were camping. And they pulled it out, and I was like, can I keep that in the little vial? Like they showed it to me and everything. And they showed me they even showed me, because part of the wad hit me, the plastic part, and it cut me all up and burned me too, of a 20 gauge. And I wanted to keep it all because it shredded my shirt. Could have hit my head, my idiot friend, but I was fine. It was just, 'tis a flesh wound. And I wanted to keep it in a little glass vial. How often are you in the hospital, man? All the time. If you guys are members of this channel, you will know how often I am in the hospital. It's all the time, and it's for all sorts of reasons. And some of them are related, and you're like, okay, that checks out. That makes sense. He's got lupus. He's got this or that. And I got more, like he got more bad news about his autoimmune thing, and that's for that. That makes sense. But then it'll be like, oh, I dropped a hammer on my foot or some dumb thing. Like I'm always hurting myself. So yeah, I'm in the hospital more than I should be. The lightning strike, that's the worst. That has like definitely over time. I didn't realize it at the time. If you go back and watch the videos around that time, you'll see that there was a change that occurred. I went from being way more out there, way more like on the ball, quick, also more artistic. I could use my hands very well. Now I can't actually snap right. Like there's just weird little things I can't do anymore that I used to be able to, that are like very fine motor skills. Also, I lost the ability to write anything. 2 weeks after the lightning strike was when I lost my ability to write. And that's because when you get electrocuted, it's different than a burn or a straight head injury. You have these things called myelin sheaths on your nerves. And basically, if you have a nerve right here, you've got your axon, and then you've got these little connective arms that reach out all over the place. And those are called dendrites. And the little axon is where they meet and talk, basically. And then the body of the nerve sends a pulse, sends a signal, and receives signals, sends signals, can relay signals, or can make new signals depending on what the nerve does. But in your brain cell, they have this stuff all along the sheathing of those little arms that connect all your brain neurons and stuff. And there's what's called myelin. And when you have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, those are diseases that either erode or chew holes or basically destroy myelin sheathing on your brain. And what happens then is the electrical signals being given through potassium ion channels, calcium, potassium, phosphates, any sort of electrolyte basically can send these. and depending on the cell and the kind of signal and all this and that. But basically, it can lose the charge and just it goes stray, because instead of going along the line, basically like through a cable that's insulated, it just dissipates into the other tissue, because it's, you know, there's blood or liquid and, you know, other fluid in your brain, and it just loses it, and the signal gets lost, so it sends it again. And sometimes you get firing multiple times and you get things like stutters, or in bad cases seizures. But when you get electrocuted, they've seen it with high voltage, like power line workers and linemen and stuff. When they get electrocuted, they're okay for like 3 or 4 days, usually. And then anywhere between day 3 or 4 and day like 60, all of a sudden they start getting the shakes and they start like mixing up speech. And so you don't even realize the damage that's been done until later. Now, if you are under the age of about 40 or 50, there's a good chance that you will actually heal your myelin sheaths fully. But whatever damage was done to the nerves under that myelin sheath, your myelin sheath took the hit. It basically got zapped for you. If it got zapped real hard, it cooked the nerve and the nerve died, and you either have to reroute your memory or whatever that is, that way of doing something, or you have to allow the myelin sheath to grow back. And so you want to keep your brain active. When I was injured, they make you go to occupational therapy every day for like 3 or 4 hours. And I had to do that, and I had to relearn things just like throwing a ball and catching it, things like drinking from a cup of water, things like you'd read a list of words, and then there'd be like the word cat, but it would be the color blue, and you'd have to say the color rather than the word. And it's really hard when you've got that going on in your brain. So yeah, but anyways, that is, you know, that's one thing that happened. The other thing, yeah, like multiple sclerosis also. And that's exactly right, Amber. There's a lot of diseases that are similar. And what's interesting is that I have an autoimmune disease anyways. And so, you know, lupus / rheumatoid arthritis is what they thought it was for years. Now they're calling it lupus. Who knows? Johnny Best says Alex eats you to death more than me. So just keep doing what you're doing. Only time knows. Yeah. I don't know. You know, whatever's going to take me out is going to be random for sure. I am sure that my wife worries, and she's like, don't go to the store. It's like 9 o'clock. You're going to get shot. Because, you know, whatever, when we've lived in tough parts of town and stuff, where you'll hear that, or there'll be like a group of people hanging out in the parking lot that don't look so great. Whatever. But I'm just like, really? You think that's what's going to take me? Like, you think it's going to be something as predictable as like, don't go by that bad man. He's a bad man. Like, no, it's going to be like, oh, he was relaxing in a padded room when all of a sudden an earthquake happened and the room collapsed on him, you know? Anyways, so last thing I want to talk about tonight, is Kitty cleaning himself as a statue. Got this the other day for $1. I don't know why. Kind of wish he was licking his butt. Anyways, let's see here. Trader J says, if plant selection is limited in black water tanks, yep, with decaying botanicals, does it mean more maintenance? I have some rare Amaya red pencil and some barred pencil that are from black water. Very cool. Both awesome fish. But I would say that, you know, you can have anything with a bulb does better in acidic water, or really, honestly, a lot of bulbs can do well in alkaline water too. But basically, they have an energy source. They have food and fuel, and usually very waxy cuticles or coverings, which makes them impervious to dry periods, impervious to, you know, different water temperatures and pHs. So I think a lot of Aponogeton, Barclaya longifolia, stuff like that does well. Also, the kind of stuff that can do well in black water sometimes is like stuff like Anubias and Java fern that can come up out of the water. It can deal with hard or soft water sometimes. Now, it doesn't do well being submerged in hard water. It does do okay though being submerged in alkaline or in acidic water for a time. But those pencil fish for sure, they're beautiful, and you definitely should get those. It doesn't need to be like a crazy black water tank. Get them under 7.0, get them to like 6.5. Then you'll be able to keep plants plenty and your pH will be low. If you can get that where you got a little teeny bit of crushed coral or minerality, and then you're at like 6.5-ish, oh, that's a sweet spot to be at. That's what I call lack water, which is, it's like black water, but it lacks the true black water properties. You also still have your biological filtration. And while ammonia is much less dangerous in the low 6 pH range because it evaporates off as ammonium, H or NH2 becomes NH3 negative. I think I might be saying that number wrong. Anyways, the point being, it evaporates out and it's less dangerous to your fish. So the fact that you don't have the good biological bacteria don't really matter. So you can have a 5 point, if your fish will tolerate 5.0 water, like if they're fine with that, if they can slowly be acclimated, and a lot of tetras and stuff can, they don't need a cycled tank. They need water changes every now and then so that the organics don't build up too high. But the nitrogen part will take care of itself as bacteria turns it into a gas. And you will have nitrogen gas in the form of NO and also a few other novel gases. But what's better to me is that laughing gas comes out of our aquarium. As long as you have sulfur and iron in your aquarium elementally and in your substrate, it will evaporate off like that. So what I was going to say is, yeah, the fresh black water extract or, you know, making it, buying it, doesn't matter. That's all good. The pH, just, you know, be aware that a big swing in pH, whether low or high, can kill any fish. Even if the fish loves low pH, even if it's a licorice gourami, just remember that most fish being transported are going to be transported in fairly neutral water with probably a TDS of 100 to 200, you know, or somewhere in there. With a KH of 5 to 10, somewhere in there, you know, if I had to guess, most of the stuff I've seen. So, you know, let it adjust, give it some time, you know. Father just got home from several bone fusions. He's never taken pain meds and he doesn't want to move, but every hour he's got to walk and do exercises. He's going to, sorry to hear about that, Carson. Yeah, I've struggled with that personally. I have a past where I broke my spine, literally, like not, oh, I have a herniated disc. I broke my spine. Luckily I didn't break my spinal column or cord. I broke broke several vertebrae, and I had to get, them put back on, like the pieces that broke off, wired back onto my spine, and that caused pain down my arm. That was a problem for 10 or 12 years, on and off and on. And over the years, when doctors were writing scripts like candy, I did develop an issue with taking too many. And then I basically got off all of that and I stopped drinking. I got off everything. But then when I got hit by lightning, they were like, oh, you thought you hurt before? We're going to break your back again. And it's going to be on the sciatic nerve. And that is like the blinding pain. I can't explain. It's so bad. I didn't want to live. Like, and I was used to, I mean, you could have pulled my fingernails out. You could have knocked my teeth out. And I can tell you that for a fact. That stuff was nothing compared to like bad sciatic spinal nerve pain was so bad. I was throwing up. I was seeing white, you know. Honestly, pain medicine wouldn't help unless it knocked me out completely. So I'm just saying, you know, that kind of stuff is helpful for moderate pain, but true terrible pain, nothing short of knocking someone out is really going to help. And that's very dangerous without medical assistance. So unless I'm in a hospital and at that level, now I just don't try. I try not to go there or ever have any of that. Although they don't even prescribe that kind of stuff anymore, really. My throat is so itchy. I've got cat fur. I must have breathed in my nose when I was holding the cat. Hey, congratulations to you, buddy. Seriously. Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, go ride. Go ride, Johnny. Go have some fun. Be safe though. Watch out for other idiots. I'm sure you're safe, but yeah, tear up the road, man. Have a good time. You only live once. I'm sorry to hear it. You've gone through this. I just got off alcohol after 8 years. I'm 1 week clean and pushing strong. Right on. That's awesome. You know, to each their own, but when you know it's time, you know it's time. And that's great. I'm so proud of you. Lean into the hobby. Become a freaking weirdo, obsessed nerd, you know? Watch your fish. Every time you're bored or you feel like you're missing out or you feel like, oh man, I could really use that or take the edge off, go to your tank instead and just observe, you know, maybe make an improvement, maybe go to the store every time you were going to buy a beer, or go have a beer or wine or whatever it is that you did, put, you know, half that amount even in a drawer for yourself, put the other half in another drawer for like your family or the future. And you'll be amazed, you know, you could spend $100 in a night, no problem going out on the town. I mean, I could spend 200 or 300 easily. And that's years ago. So I'm sure it's way worse now. But do that and then enjoy the heck out of you some fish, some plants, some whatever you got, you know. The last thing I was going to mention tonight is, and also USMC, buddy. Thank you. I'm glad I'm alive too. Went down the addiction trail with pain meds. Also on the other side, right on. 3 years clean, stay strong. Everyone who fights this fight, respect and love to you. Right on. You too. And is that a ferret I see also? That's awesome. You know what? Seriously, if you can do it, you can do anything. And for me, once you had that good feeling or whatever from especially opiates, it's like it's so predictable and you're never going to get it. You're never going to get the relief or the release that you want, really. And it's just going to be chasing like feeling normal and maybe trying to blunt things. And it's such a like, oh, I'll do things later, I'll think about it later. It doesn't fix anything. It may not, even if it's not, never got to the point of like ruining your life or ruining things. It never did with me, really. But it's just everything was, I'll deal with it later, I'll do that later, and you let your life slip past you, and that's no way to live, you know. Like, do whatever you want. If it works for you, eat a boatload of whatever. But you know, if you're not living your life and doing new things, trying new things, teaching others, loving others, and getting love from others, you're not alive. You're not enjoying your life, no matter what you're telling yourself, you know. And we can put life on hold in that way, trying to get to a goal financially or trying to work through a period of, okay, I got to work 2 jobs and I don't have any time to do anything. But, you know, eventually on the other side of that, here's this. But whether it's that or whether it's just working slavishly or whether it's, you know, unhappy relationships and family issues and stuff, like, don't just exist, you know, live and be excited about life, even if it's little stuff. Stay curious, ask questions, and keep these little pieces, these little jewels in your day that make you go, that's interesting. And remember them. And then later down the road, someone's going to say something to you and they're going to be like, I wonder why this happens. And you might know, and you might be able to tell them, and you can see the wonder in their face. And for me, it's like being able to recall that, being able to pull that book off the shelf in my mind and like access that little tidbit is so beautiful. And it's so refreshing, and it's like a little hit, a little bit of joy, a little moment of bliss. And I'm a knowledge junkie going from moment to moment like that. So you only exist for fish and family these days. That's okay. That's good. Those are good things to exist for. Yeah. Oh, I hear you, USMC. I hear you. Yeah. Chasing that, being sick, the kick, the legs, the sweat. That's all awful. I'm sorry. Yeah. Good thing you're on the other side of it. I'm so happy for you. Also, dude, Johnny, for real. Thank you, man. But you're far too kind. I mean, I hope you're a millionaire, bro, with your generosity. Because like otherwise I need to just start an account and just start sending it back to you so you can buy a new bike or something, man. Go out and have a good time tonight though, buddy. So the last thing I'm gonna say is yeah, fish is an addiction too. It can be, for sure. I would say it's a healthier one for most folks than other ones. It's less impulsive. In theory, you're not always at the fish store. There's not a fish store on every corner. Now, if you lived in like the Amazon, I could see I would fill my house with fish. It would be bad. It'd be like if I lived, it's just like when like liquor is on every corner or whatever, and you're an alcoholic. Anyways, back to the main point. So they did a research study, and I heard it on the radio on a radio talk show today, and they said that right now, we are lower than the lowest time in history that people ever had a hobby or something they do in their free time. So there was this report out of Stanford and Oxford, or not Stanford. What was it? Harvard, I want to say. Harvard and Oxford. There was a British one out of the UK, there was a US one that they both studied, overseas and here. And they've been studying for 150 years, like happiness, wellness, how many hours people work, stuff like that. And they track like trends in social standings and sorry guys, I'm starting to hit my wall soon, so I'll have to wrap this up. But they track social trends. What is the word I'm trying to look for? Not sociological trends, and economic trends and things like that, and like what people are doing. So 40% of people have a bike, and they then sell this information in theory to like marketing folks and to folks who would be interested in like, oh wow, 20% of people have a dog, and those same 20%, 15% of people have a cat. But it's if you have a dog, 90% of dog owners have a cat, whatever it may be. These overlaps and connections. And so it's kind of an interesting thing that they've studied as a marketing and sociology thing. But what they said is that right now, for the lowest time since the 1870s, like 1879, they started studying this stuff. They've done these surveys every year, and they said that whatever they consider middle class, which is probably quite different in the 1800s, that's for sure. But people who stated they had a hobby, one, people needed to be explained, what do you mean a hobby? And they said, anything you do, they used a definition that's the same as it was in the 1870s. It was anything you do for personal enrichment, for the sake of doing it, for the sake of just doing it, and the fact that it makes you happy and passes time. Like that was basically the gist of it. And people nowadays they do like a big survey of thousands of people every, I think it's 10 years, kind of like the actual surveys, the census stuff. But they found that people all of a sudden, like even in 2015, the number was still significant in that a lot of people said they played video games or they did this or that. Those were all still considered hobbies. But right now, they said 65% of Americans and Brits, like when combined, do not have anything they would consider a hobby that they do on a weekly basis. And that blew my mind. They didn't consider cats and dogs a hobby, which I find interesting, but they did consider fish keeping. You know, I was reading a little bit more on it and trying to find more info on it. And I want to find like a write-up on it that we can look at and talk about. But the whole point was that now everybody gets home and they watch Netflix or they look on their phone and they watch YouTube shorts or Facebook or, you know, social media. They're not counting as a hobby. And social media and streaming services or cable or like media consumption, they're not counting as a hobby unless you have a group, so like a book club. And that meant books and stuff weren't counted back in the day either. So if you said, oh, my hobby is reading back in the day, they wouldn't have counted that. They would have said, oh, you need a club or you need to be expounding upon this or whatever. But nowadays, yeah, only 35% of us have a hobby. I mean, I like doing models, and not that I do them every week, but you know, every couple months I'll do a model, like a paint a model or something, or you know, go garden or whatever it may be. But like, is there something you can pick up at home right now and work on? Or is, you know, with us, it's fish tanks, a lot of us, and you can, you know, put to the fish room, clean a tank, add a fish, raise babies, give them food, live food, you know, whatever. Painting, drawing, playing dice, playing cards, whatever, you know, crocheting, sewing. And I thought about that and I was just like, that's sad. 65% of people right now don't have a hobby. I think that's really dangerous. Not only for like the social implications. I mean, that's why 100,000 Americans are dying of opiate abuse a year. I mean, right there, that answers that question. And that's an insane statistic on its own. You know, our top annual death by illicit stuff used to be 50,000 was bad in a year. Now, if you count alcohol and smoking, goes up to like 500,000 to 1 million, depending on how you want to do it. But read the polls and stuff. But I'm just saying, like, that's insane. That our attention spans / our minds and our routines and coming home, like, we need to be nurturing our souls, you know. And I'm not saying just with fish, but like with whatever, volunteering or a hobby. And I bet if you added up like volunteering and all these other things, like, or going to church for that matter, or going to debate club or theater or you know, something where you're interacting and you're being productive, and you either build something metaphysically, theoretically, or literally, like, build something with yourself and your life and your mind and your brain and your love. It's scary that so many of us aren't. So on that note, go out and build something with your love, with your thoughts, with your wit, with your clever thoughts, with your precision, with your skill, with your obsession of one thing. Whatever it may be, you all have something to add, to offer. Don't just consume. You know, so many people just consume, whether it's media or food or energy or whatever, gasoline, whatever it is, you know, like make something that you can share, whether it's a story or listening even to a story of someone else, or cooking a nice meal. I mean, it could be so many different things, but like, let's all make an effort to do a hobby or practice a skill or improve on a skill for the sake of that skill. Touch grass for real. That's really what we're saying, you know. And yeah, sure, enjoy nature daily. There's the other quote in the hobby we've been seeing for years now. Or you know, keep your sleeves wet, that kind of thing. But seriously, yeah, you know, enjoy your tank. Look for the little behavior, look for that kind of stuff, and I think you will feel so much more fulfilled in the rest of your life, in the parts of your life that may be problematic. Like, once you're happy in certain spots, even little places, you carry that into the other parts of your life, and then you spread that. It can't help but be contagious to others. So be contagious with curiosity, love, knowledge. Share it with me, share it with other YouTubers, other people. I mean, by the other people on YouTube, other commenters, questions. You know, let's get into something we don't know, and continue to learn too. And it keeps us young. So, guys, I got to get going. But as Drifters just said, and I really mean this, you guys are my family. And, you know, you guys are my friends and my family. I got my real family. I got a tight-knit group that's my real family. And friends, I've really changed everything in my life the last 15 years. And you guys are my real friends. The people I know in real life that I care to spend time with, almost all of them are in the hobby and or somehow linked to this channel or their channel or another, you know, store or whatever it may be. But you guys aren't alone, and I send my thoughts, and when I interact with y'all in the comments, it means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to some of you too. But yeah. Oh, and also U.S. Marine Corps 72409. Melanie. All right. Well, welcome, Melanie. You are so welcome here. Make yourself at home. You know, we don't always remember each other's names and stuff, but I'm glad you enjoyed the live stream. You know, no obligation to become a paid up member or anything like that, but there is a Discord that's free that you can check out, and a document section of that Discord that you can also check out with lots of files and just stuff that's quirky. And anybody who's here who's having a good time, thank you for spending the evening with me, for spending a little time with me. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday. Yeah. And I think the link in the description should be valid for the Discord. I just changed it tonight. So if it's already timed out or whatever, I'm going to pull my hair out. And also the cat, where'd she go? She just did a like drive-by of dropping this on my foot. Her nasty. Oh, here she is. My cat says goodbye too. Sumi, say goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, kitty cat. All right, guys, I'm going to go, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for making my night better and allowing me to just yammer on about things. I'll hopefully have a new video out today, or I mean tomorrow or the next day. And much love. Thank you so much for all the super chats, all the great questions, and just hanging out tonight. I appreciate it. It's great. There's only 70 of us in here right now. I like it. It's intimate. It's great. I love this. If every night could be like this, I'd be stoked. Much love. I'll talk to you guys later. And this little kitty needs some food, don't you? Yes, you do. Okay. Much love, guys. You load 16 tons. What do you get?